All right, Thursday's here. Who's ready for it?
So ready,
Ooh.
Steve. Good morning.
I love it. I love it. Uh-oh, what do we got? We got some sort of a tech issue, something popping up on my screen that normally doesn't. We'll just say yes to that. I don't know what we said yes to. We'll go live over here. All right, we're full focus. Where's those cameras? Get those cameras on. I want to see those beautiful smiles. In whatever weird situation that you're in. I love Chris tuning in from the car. What else do we have? Golly, turn your cameras on. Katie Sheehan always got the camera on. Chris, we got a camera on, but I can't see. Other Chris, I can't see what's going on. Shodrick, I got a beautiful image of you. Stacy, beautiful image. Where's those cameras? There's Sell to Adam. Show me those pearly whites. Well, I hope you guys are off to a good Thursday. I sure am. I finally got my sauna thing figured out. I'm 3 days in a row without passing out and killing myself. So I am enjoying that. It is turning into a meditation session as well for me. If you have not saunaed and you have access to a sauna, highly recommend. We are doing sauna in the morning over here. We are doing hot tub at the night. And I really feel like both of those contributing to increase my sleep efficiency. I track my sleep a couple of different ways, and the last few days have probably been the best sleep that I've gotten when we've been combining both of those together. So, little sleep stuff for you. We have the great Katie Sheehan on with us. I'm going to bring you into screen, Katie. What do you have for us this morning on the legal side of things?
Good morning, everybody. So I thought we would talk a little bit about contingencies today. So we talked a little bit last week about, termination, and the contingencies are really a reason for termination that are going to protect your buyers, right? So if you're going to put a contingency clause in there, you're putting it into the document so that they have an out. There's something that needs to happen for them in order for them to be able to buy this house. This contingency is stating that, and it says that if it's not met, if this contingency doesn't happen, if the contingency isn't met, if it's out of time, any of these things, they have a reason to back out, get their deposit back. It's all protecting their deposit and giving them an out from the contract. Okay? So, easiest one, mutual agreement. Buyers and sellers decide they don't want to sell. Buyers decide, you know what, I don't want to buy. Mutual agreement, deposits are released. Terminate the agreement, you're good to go, right? Anyone think of some that are for prior to the purchase and sale? So before we get to the purchase and sale signing, we've signed an offer. What's the most common one that's going to get them terminated out of this contract prior to a purchase and sale being signed?
Inspection.
That's right, inspection. So we always put into our agreements that the inspection is for informational purposes only, right? But they reserve the right to get out of the contract if inspection items come up that are over 5,000, or just if it comes back and it's unsatisfactory, all these different reasons. What are some of that you guys have run into? What are some of the big inspection issues that you've run into that have caused someone to not want to buy the home? Can you think of any?
Mold.
Mold is a big one. Anyone else?
Foundations.
Foundations is another real big one. Usually that means that the seller is now going to have to do some major work to be able to sell the house if you're looking at foundation issues. Anyone else think of any other inspection issues that come up?
Well, septic.
Well and septic are huge. FHA repairs, if we know it's going to be an FHA purchase and they've got peeling paint and they've got no railings and, they don't have a legal third floor, it's, a crawl space, certain things like that. If the FHA will allow it, if it's not within their guidelines, those are the big ones for inspection. So that's before your purchase and sale gets signed. That's the biggest way that you're looking to get out of a deal if it's going to be an issue with unsatisfactory inspection. So once we have a purchase and sale signed, what's the big one that we always talk about and you guys always make sure that you carry it through right to the end at closing? Your mortgage contingent. Yep, I heard it. Your mortgage contingency. That's right. So if you have your mortgage contingency, how is your buyer going to buy a home if they can't get a mortgage? So we always write that in because otherwise they could be required to buy the house cash. Without a mortgage contingency, then there's nothing saying that if they don't make the money, if the lender doesn't agree to lend them the money, they can't get through. So we want to make sure that that's in there. So within that mortgage contingency, what is the big reason that it would terminate due to the mortgage contingency? What are the reasons they wouldn't get their loan?
Changes in their employment.
Changes in their employment. Any
Job loss.
Yep, job loss. How about the appraisal? The appraisal comes in low, the lender refuses to lend, and there's no contingency for appraisal gap coverage. So that
Kate,
happens. We work with that.
I want to pause on this one, something that's come up a couple of times recently, and just see what you've seen from the legal side of things. And that is changing my mortgage type, right? So what are you seeing with contingencies regarding, hey, you were pre-approved as conventional, now you're going FHA, now you can't get the FHA, now you want to back out, that's not what you presented, right? Can you walk us through that and what you're seeing with contingencies and stuff regarding the what you came to the table with as far as a mortgage type?
Absolutely. So anytime there is a change, especially if it is a change into a more difficult product, so a more strict product. So if you're starting out conventional and then you realize I don't qualify conventional for some reason, I have to go FHA or any of those government-backed loans that are going to have a secondary appraisal or inspection that needs to meet criteria, you always need to let the other side know, because now you're changing the terms of the agreement, which is the offer that you put in place. You told them you were going to be buying conventional. They picked your loan, they picked your offer because it said conventional versus someone else who said it had FHA. So now you need to let them know, and you're probably going to need to give something up because you're making it harder. You're backing out of one of your contingencies and making it a less slam dunk deal, basically. And so you need to write out, we need to send over an addendum, and we need to let them know, hey, listen, we want to give everybody on the seller side all the information that we have. So if we know we're switching over into an FHA out of conventional, or the other way around, if we had FHA and we're going conventional, that's less likely to cause a stir, but you also want to let them know because it is different from what was agreed upon. The biggest thing you want to do, let them know and let them know all of the information. We have to switch it over. It wasn't going to go through, but we're already approved or we're already in the process. It's totally fine to get the ball rolling before you notify them, as long as that other option is still available. If it's not, it gives them the chance to back out of the deal, and then we're in mutual agreement that we're backing out of the deal because it's not what was originally agreed to in the first place. So that's able to.
So you haven't seen any scenarios where the seller has a leg to stand on that that's not what you came to the table with. I want out of this deal. I'm moving, I'm putting this thing back on the market.
I know, I absolutely have seen it.
Okay.
Absolutely have seen it. But if you're protecting your deposit and reaching out and letting them know in advance, like, hey, this just happened. We were just told that we're not going to qualify under our mortgage contingency. We will back out of the deal unless you now accept our new deal, which is an FHA loan, or unless you accept our new deal, which is, we're switching whatever the case may be for the lending side. So you're protecting your deposit by giving them the notice. And that's what we want to do, which is why we want to have all of our ducks in a row and know what we're telling them. Because if you're asking them to accept a new agreement, because this is going to be a whole separate agreement. They're now changing the agreement to say that that's fine. They will accept FHA versus conventional, which is what they originally accepted. So as long as you're giving them the notice and they're agreeing, otherwise, the way you're going to word it is we can no longer get conventional financing. We're going to have to go FHA. Please accept this as termination of the contract unless you agree to allow us to go forward with an FHA or with whatever new loan product it is. And by doing that, you're protecting the deposit. They'll be able to get that back.
And I assume that is if it's been disclosed. I believe, and somebody can correct me, I haven't looked at MAR, the latest purchase and sale for Massachusetts, but is all of the contracts, anybody on using a contract that does not stipulate the type of loan? I believe that, can somebody verify MAR has this? Florida has
MAR
this?
No longer in the newer contracts from August of last year. The MAR form does not include the type of loan when writing an offer.
Okay. Now, when you submit a pre-approval, obviously it's going to say that. So what are your thoughts, Kate, if, I submitted a pre-approval, but my purchase and sale doesn't say the type of loan that I'm getting. It says I have a mortgage contingency. And now mid-transaction, I want to change my mortgage product.
In
Do
my
you bel-
opinion, the
Yeah.
safest way to do that, because like you say, it's not stipulated directly into the contract that it's conventional versus FHA or whatever the case may be. But if you're using your pre-approval as part of your loan, your offer package that's getting you accepted, anything that you're using, that you're going to change, in my opinion, the safest way to retain your deposit and keep that safe is to let them know. Because if you're including your pre-approval, they're assuming that's the loan you're going to go through. And there are times that you won't be able to do that. You know, maybe you're not even going to go with the pre-approval loan. It's going to go through something totally different. Is it the safest thing to do? You know, can you absolutely move forward and just switch the lenders and not let them know, because they wouldn't be any the wiser unless they really went back and checked? Sure. But if they pick up on it, they're going to have a reason to back out of the deal, and you're not going to be completely protected for the mortgage contingency. So it's better to be safe than sorry, in my opinion. I'm all about disclose everything, let everybody know everything, what's going on, because unless you're trying to specifically be sneaky, there's no reason not to.
Yeah. And your legal take would be, if I didn't disclose and I went to a more difficult loan product, I got denied, I submit hey, I got denied, right? Sorry, that's not the loan that you told me you were getting. We're not giving you your deposit back. And you could see an argument that the seller could make at that point.
Right. At the end,
Yeah.
if you come all the way to the point where you're trying to get your mortgage commitment and you're not getting the commitment, and then you say like, hey, this is, what's going on. I 100% think it's better to disclose up front. And there's an argument to be made for them to keep the deposit if you haven't disclosed. And it's something that you used in order to get the offer agreed to.
Just curious, for those of you guys on the call, Connecticut, Florida, are we putting the loan type into the purchase contract?
Yes.
Anybody definitive?
Jeff?
Yeah, for Connecticut, yes.
Connecticut,
We
it
put the
absolutely
loan
says.
type in? Yep.
Yep. So Florida and Connecticut. So Mass, not. I don't know if anybody from Rhode Island or any other state. Okay, just curious. Okay, I interrupted you there, Kate. Continue.
No worries. So the next reason, obviously, when you've got a purchase and sale signed, same thing, inspection. Inspection can come up before the purchase and sale. Just all depends on when the timing is that you have the inspection done. There are also pieces of the inspection that might come later. If you get your radon testing and it's pouring rain and they're not going to test it for a week, and you sign the purchase and sale in the middle of that, if that radon comes back and it's failed, then you always, whether it's been signed or not, you have the right to come back and ask for either repairs, ask for them to remediate the issue, or you can say you want to terminate. Those are your options. So none of this is going to be all or nothing. You always want to go to the other side, present your case, see if they're willing to do anything about it, and then you decide if you're willing to accept it with nothing being done, or if you want to just back out of the deal because they're not willing to remove the mold in the property that they found, or remediate your radon, or whatever the case may be. So what's the next biggest one that you see when people are writing in and people are panicking right now when they're trying to sell their home? Your buyer home sale contingency. So when do we want to use these? When are you going to write that in for your client? Are you going to write it in only if they have the funds, if they need to sell in order to move forward? Or is it going to be a timing issue? What do you guys see often?
These are actual questions, you guys.
So with the buyer's home sale contingency, you're going to write it in. It's going to say something along the lines of this is subject to, or this is contingent on the buyer selling the home that they are currently in. And generally speaking, the seller side is going to ask for dates. They're going to want a date where this is going to end. They don't want an open contingency that's going to run all the way right up to the date of closing, and they can find out the day before that you haven't sold your home, and now sellers are stuck. What are we going to do? So if you have buyers who cannot buy without the funds that they were going to get from the sale of their home, if you have buyers who have nowhere to go in the interim, if they have to do a same day type closing where they sell in order to move into the home same day, because there's no way that they can get any storage, they're moving from out of state, or things like that. Those are the reasons you're going to put a buyer home sale contingency in there. And this is a question from me to you, just asking how the market is right now. How are sellers looking when you put a home sale contingency into the offer? Are they looking at it? Are they balking at it? What are you guys seeing?
They're balking at it right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing, Kate, I would make sure that you write is the successful sale and closing of the property,
That's
right?
right.
Because just by writing the sale of it, sometimes that wording can get you in trouble as well.
Yep.
The,
Because
the thing that
a
I
lot of
always
times-
I like to add for color here, and I'm assuming down in Florida we can say that they have 2 houses to sell, and you'll still take the offer the way the market. They
Took
gotta
the words
sell.
out of my mouth, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
they
take
got-
I'll take a domino closing at this point.
Yeah. So, but when you are in a a situation where it's a little bit more competitive, I think it's very important that you guys understand the differences in the home sale contingency. So, what do I mean by that? There are absolutely different levels to the home sale contingency that, as a buyer's agent, you need to make sure you're explaining to that listing agent, right? So, here are kind of the general levels. I have a home to sell. It's not even on the market. I have a home to sell. It's on the market a little bit further along. I have a home to sell. It's on the market and we've got an accepted offer. I've got a home to sell. It's on the market. I've got an accepted offer and they're through inspections. I got a home to sell. It's on the market. We're through inspections. We're through mortgage. Right? Those are completely different home sale contingencies. So our job as a buyer's agent is to get the most confidence that we can to that listing agent that our deal is going to close. Now, all of those scenarios, the buyer had a home to sell, but they're significantly different scenarios. So just make sure when you are presenting this, you are presenting it in the most favorable manner for your buyer. And when you are receiving a home sale contingency, you're asking about all of those things, right? Also, go as far as to say, and the buyer of the house doesn't have a house to sell, because that can be hidden in there, right? If you're not smart enough, you're on the listing side and you don't ask that question, right? So that's great that you're through inspections and you're through mortgage. What about the fact that the domino deal that Adam just talked about isn't even close or has issues, right? So you really need to know the full extent. How many deals are involved? How many, what phase of the transaction are those deals in? Anybody else want to add some color around this? But diving deep and really understanding these different pieces to a home sale contingency is really important.
When writing it in an offer, I suggest exactly what Steve just said. Writing in contingent on the successful sale of the house, which is now past inspections, appraisal, waiting to find their home. Like that, then you have it right there and you're not just telling the agent because you want to make sure that the seller sees it themselves on that offer.
Yeah. And add the language. And the buyer of that home doesn't have anything to sell. There's no other contingency, right? Like, explain that fact. That's a big fact. Nicole.
I just want to circle back to what Chris said because I am confused as to the difference of saying a successful closing or a successful sale versus a sale. Could a sale just be taken as we're under contract and then if it falls apart? I don't really understand the difference.
Chris,
So I can answer that. Yeah. So I have had it before where on the other side, they sell their house and they have a legitimate sale right in front of them. And at the last minute, they decide they don't want to go with that seller that buyer anymore on their house. But it contract states right in it if you have a viable buyer right in front of you. So if it's not successful, if it doesn't go to full fruition, that is where I have always written successful ever since that happened to me like 4 years ago.
Yeah, so through no fault of your own. It's like there's nothing that's when we're talking about a domino effect here. Through no fault of your own, this is now no longer happening and your buyers are just as devastated as your sellers who are trying to, get this house sold. So if you make sure that it's listed out as a successful closing, it's got to happen. The closing has to happen. It can't just, all right, we know it's under, agreement. We know at some point it's going to go, but it's got to be the successful closing. Otherwise they can force a sale to go through or keep the deposit. Any other questions?
So
All
I think
right,
the
so
home,
everybody ready to
that
have a-
home sale contingency, guys, is one of the most complicated ones, right? So just make sure on both sides, you're putting out as much information as you can, right? And definitely as the listing agent that you are asking about all of those different pieces to the puzzle. Because if you don't ask, the buyer doesn't have to say, and all of a sudden you find out, oh, shoot, there's a whole domino, right? They came to the deal and they had an accepted offer on that house that they got to sell, but that buyer's buyer fell apart, right? Lauren.
I'll wait if anybody else has something more on this, but I think this is a really good lead into suitable housing as the next step, right? So same way a buyer would have home sale contingency, seller might have suitable housing contingency.
Absolutely. So if you're looking at, so you've got your home sale contingency for the buyer side, switch it to the other side. What is the listing side asking for? They say they've got a suitable housing contingency. So same way, same thing. You're going to be looking at very specific wording and making sure you add color. Suitable housing. What's suitable? Is finding a rental suitable? Is buying a home suitable? Is buying a 3-family suitable? Like, how specific are we going to get and how specific are you going to allow it to get? So on the seller side, they want to just keep it as broad as possible, right? They're just going to say suitable housing so that they have the biggest argument in case it doesn't come around. So on the buyer side, if they're saying that there's suitable housing, you want to know, what are we looking for? Is suitable in their mind? Are you writing in that it has to be just a place that they can move into, so it can be a rental? Are we putting down dates and making sure that there is a timeline so that we're not saying the day before closing on our side, the same way we wouldn't do it to the sellers? We're finding out the day before closing that their suitable housing has fallen through and now there's nowhere for us to go and we're stuck. So we're really keeping all the color in there, making sure it's as specific as possible on all sides, and then really just doing your due diligence throughout the closing and just checking in. Hey, how's that house search going? Can I show you any listings? I've got a couple over here. What do these look like? If we know it's going to be rental properties and they're moving out of state, do we have an agent who's, in that state that we can get them hooked up with and help them find that place if they're not doing well on their own searching? Those are the types of things that you want to keep an eye on and really just follow along throughout the process. You don't want to let that lie in the corner and then watch it rear its ugly head right before closing. No one wants that.
I want to add some color on this one, something that I've seen agents make a mistake on, and really try to be careful with this. Your buyer is subject to finding suitable housing, but they've got it. It's under agreement, it's through inspections, and you don't want to add it as a contingency because it weakens your offer, but it has not closed. So now we're under contract. You don't have subject to them finding suitable housing because they found suitable housing. Matter of fact, they've got an accepted offer. It's through inspections. Everything looks good. You think, I don't have to put this in my contract, and a title issue arises on that property. And that seller cannot sell it to that buyer. All of a sudden, your buyer does not have their suitable housing, and you don't have a contingency clause in your offer to protect that buyer. Right? So really think these things through, right? I'd rather see you put the protection in there, subject to suitable housing, which they found, which they're under agreement for, which they're through inspections, which they have their mortgage, right? But these are some fine details that can really rear their ugly head and cause a mess if we don't get them right.
And then I think the last big one that I wanted to bring up is the one we've been dropping them like flies because of this one. Successful review of the condo docs approved by the lender. Raise your hand if you have been personally attacked by a condo that did not pass through the lender side. Yeah, I see you, Chris. It's a mess right now. And is everyone kind of aware of what's been happening and the reason why a lot of these condos are just not passing muster with the lenders anymore, Fannie and Freddie and their requirements?
I don't
This
know
would
the
be a
details, but I'm assuming it has something to do with the reserves. I don't know if reserves have increased or something.
reserves, and I was going to say, this is a big one that when you have your insurance guys on, ask them about it, because this is really what's happening is the big insurance issue, because the insurance is going up so fast, and the condo associations, most of the time, they're going to have to get approval in order to raise the HOA fees. but they're not raising the HOA fees enough to cover these new things. So all they're doing is they're letting everything build up. They're dropping down their deductibles. So that's remaining. Costs are going up. There's nothing left in the reserve because they're not collecting enough from their HOA fees. So now it doesn't match. There's no longer the ability, and they're not meeting the requirements of their inspection and their insurance. So what's happening is Fannie and Freddie are failing them, and then they're just not insurable condos. So they end up being on the blacklist for Fannie and Freddie. So they go through, and all of a sudden, oh, we got this great condo. You go to sell it. You're going to start seeing it's been on the market. It comes through. Then it gets back on the market saying it has to be a cash buyer only. And that's because that it's been blacklisted and it won't make it through any of the criteria in the regiment to check through the lenders. And that has been murdering people recently. If you
Hey, can I say something about that?
Yep.
It's not, it doesn't end up being cash only. It'll be a portfolio loan as well. You can go
Yes.
through People's Bank, you can go through Months, any of them, and it's a portfolio loan that they have to put 20% down. I can tell you right now, I've run into it. I had a whole list of blacklists. Beekman was on the blacklist because of the roofs. It had nothing to do with reserves. It was the roofs weren't done, but they just finished the roofs 2 weeks ago. So they're now off the blacklist for anybody that wonders. Abbey Memorial and Chickpeas on the blacklist because of the porches. They're not deemed, that they pass. So they're on the blacklist. But I did sell in Abbey Memorial. I had the seller. That's how I found out all about this blacklist. And they did end up going through with a portfolio loan, but I didn't have any idea. So now I've seen people list in there, and just being the agent I am, I'm calling them and saying, do you know that they're blacklisted? You can't take a conventional or an FHA. And it's been super helpful to let them know they need a portfolio loan or cash.
But conventional is not the way you're going to be able to go with any of those deals. And what's going to happen is they're going to have to swing the pendulum in the other direction. They're going to have to start raising those rates so that it does meet the criteria. The other one that comes up that Chris didn't mention is if they have a lot of cases in court. So if there's liability claims, if someone was hurt on the property and they've got actions in court that are open, if those actions haven't been settled, they don't know what the settlement fees are going to be. And so they end up on the blacklist for not clearing out any of their court cases and liabilities. Anyone else? Any other things that have popped up? Because we're almost at time, so I don't want to keep you guys longer, but I know there's tons of fun stuff to talk about when it comes to contingencies and blacklisted condos.
Okay, what I'd love to do on the next one is maybe just talk about some of the more non-traditional contingencies that you've seen. Maybe
Sure.
just some other little things that we should just know that we can have in our repertoire. Hey, I don't see this that often, but you could put a contingency for this, that, or the other. I think some very unique contingencies exist out there that we should talk about, and people should just have them in their tool belt. That's all.
Sure, I think that sounds great. It has been noted for next week.
All right. All right, guys. Let's take a quick peek. Hopefully my share feature is working now. It is awesome. These are the trainings that are available today. We've got the new agent starter series. We've got Master Your Sphere. We've got Facebook Ads 101. Geez, I got a lot today. Live session, Women of Real Mastermind, the Real Agent Society, and Niche Marketing and Branding Mastermind with Steve Olson. So 6 different opportunities to level up your real estate skills today. Hopefully you guys take something, learn something, and come back to the show and share. So if you're liking what we're doing here, please share the show. Put, if we're going live and you're about to join, put something up on your social feed. Hey, join me here. I'd love to grow this show, get some more unique stuff coming in. So appreciate you all. Have yourselves a kick-ass Thursday, and we will do it again tomorrow to finish off the week. Take care.
Thank you so much.